Hey everybody, Pete A. Turner, executive producer and host of Your Break It Down show. If you're keeping track, I guess you probably know that we've already passed episode 750. Tried to make a big deal about it, but just, in the day-to-day cranking, we sort of just blew right past it, just kept on going. If you're interested in episode 750, we did, by design, pick something that was really important to us, and that was our episode with Hilliard Guess, talking about the Writers Guild of America West's chapter, and he is a co-chair of the Black Writers Committee. He, the other co-chair, and the vice co-chair all got together and wrote an open letter to Hollywood saying, hey, you guys got to do a better job of hiring black folks. So if you're interested in 750, that was that episode. And I wanted to make sure that you guys all knew, like, hey, we're keeping track of things around here. We'll be at 800 before we know it. But just that episode is important because I think it marks our love and support for Hilliard because, he's part of our family. But also just in general, as we try to figure out how to sort through all of our turmoil and tumult in terms of race and opportunity and those kind of things, that we take time to understand, what are some actual things that we can do and look for in terms of in the industries that are impacting folks. All right, enough about that. Let's celebrate today, episode 754 with our man Cody Wood. Now, look, if you've seen the live version, and for those of you who don't know, we do live versions. They're posted on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. We do them just about every day, sometimes twice a day, sometimes not at all. It just kind of depends on the rhythm, but we definitely get the 5 shows a week. Anyhow, if you've already seen Cody Wood, you'll know about this. But if not, let me tell you about Cody Wood's incredible business. Now, Cody is a rough and tough Western guy who lives in Wyoming, and he has a business called Bull Party. What the hell is that? Well, let me tell you something. You ever thought, hey, I could ride a bull, like mechanical bull? Yeah, whatever. That's sort of hokey dokey. I want to try the real thing. Well, guess what? You can. And Bull Party is the way to do that. Now, the idea initially is to, get associated with a bull riding arena or some kind of rodeo event that they can go, and people that are already in that world can kind of jump on the back of a bull. And the bulls, understand this is like skydiving where you have, like, you can go tandem, you can go static line. Well, this is the same kind of thing. We're like, hey, here's a bull. We're going to categorize him as a 2, and his name is Mom. And, we're going to buck around a little bit, but it's a tame, sane way to do this. And so I think it's just a fascinating idea, like for folks that are into this kind of thing, to go, yeah, I'd like to try that. I don't need the 10. I don't need, professional. I need to be thrown 12 feet in the air, but I am interested in trying to do it and just see how I do. And maybe all of a sudden you end up like, like the guys from Stir Crazy, and you find out I've got a knack for this. Anyhow, enough with my Gene Wilder jokes. Anyhow, that's Cody, and you're going to love what he does. Hey, everybody, thank you for supporting the show. Truly, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. The show is growing like crazy right now, and I see all of your engagement from all over the world. Literally, we're just about to hit 90 countries with active people, and I just think it's marvelous. So if you like rodeo, you're going to love this. If you're fascinated by rodeo, you're going to love this. Save the Brave, savethebrave.org. You know what to do. A couple of bucks each month. That'll go a long way. Scott and I are about to ride across the country. And Scott's got to go. A friend of his killed himself with alcohol, and a veteran. And, we're doing our damnedest to stop this. So Scott and I are going to drive across the country and try to raise money for Save the Brave. Look for that announcement soon on Facebook to make it official. But you guys are on the inside because you love the show, and we love Save the Brave. SaveTheBrave.org. Now here comes Cody Wood.
Skunk Baxter.
This is Gabby Reese.
This is Rob Bell.
Hey, this is John Leon Guerrero.
Hey, and this is Pete A. Turner.
Hello, everybody. This is Cody Wood. You're watching the Break It Down show.
Yes, indeed. Cody Wood is a professional bull rider, if the hat didn't tip you off. Now, there's a lot of guys out there who, as the saying goes, are all hat and no cattle.
Yeah.
But that's not the case with Cody. He is a professional bull rider, and all the things you can assume that come along with a robust occupation like that. So, Cody, what are you up to, man?
Yeah, well, just that, grew up in a bull riding family, like you had mentioned, and doing what we can to, grow the sport, introduce it to a larger demographic, and got a lot of things in the works on the project we call Bull Party that we're awfully excited about. And we sure do appreciate you all, having me here today to kind of chat about that if possible.
I know that there ain't no party like a bull party because it tends that bull parties just don't stop.
Yeah.
Who the fuck wants to ride a bull?
Yeah, I know. You'd be surprised. There's a huge number, especially a growing number, honestly, too. When you look at the world today and the certain demographics, I like to follow demographics when I look at things in life in general. But whether the millennials or whatever you want to call it, but a lot of people nowadays, and in a good way, I think, are moving away towards maybe more material aspects in life and wanting to have experiences, build up that block of whether it's a thrill or travel or whatever the case may be, but there is no experience like climbing on the back of a bucking bull and going through that process, and we're looking forward to providing that opportunity to people.
I agree with you, and I know Pete would too, in that you got to go through these adventurous experiences to build a life worth living.
Yeah, that's
what insurance company is letting you do this? I mean, it sounds like a great idea that's completely bananas enough that somebody's going to throw up their hands and go, hold on a minute.
Yeah, that's true. So we have our team, we have a lot of experience, obviously, in bull riding, but even just putting on bull riding events and things in general. And what makes this different, obviously, is we're going to have 50 different individuals that, most of them have, never been around livestock or let alone a bucking bull. And so that is a little bit different, but, and there is definitely a fear factor, and for good reason, because it's, you can always say that we're going to provide a controlled environment, but there's no way to say that it's going to be safe.
A controlled environment with a bull.
Yeah, exactly. As best as possible. But unfortunately, they're live animals and there's no way to control certain things. And so you are rolling the dice a little bit, but that's what makes it fun too, right? That's what really, drives the whole process and just is a big part of what we're looking to share.
As you look to share this thing, you do market research. Where are we going to have these things, and what kind of people actually want? I mean, like, no shit. Like, I'm an accountant most of the week, and now I'm going to jump on the back of a bull. Like, I need my shoulders and shit to work to go do my job. So, what kind of people are in your market space, and then where's the shop going to be at?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a great question, and honestly, it's been fascinating to me to one, to kind of do the research. And so when I first started going, like I said, I live in Cheyenne, Wyoming now, but I grew up just west of Denver in Evergreen, Colorado, and did a kind of a research trial at Metro State in Denver, and really learned a lot of information, asking questions and kind of taking things in from the student body there at Metro State. And anyway, we also have our first event was scheduled for July 11th this year, and it was going to be in Fort Collins, Colorado. And so unfortunately, with everything going on right now in the world and where it's at, the venue had to, cancel our event. And so we're regrouping right now. But to answer your question, what was amazing is that we started that process of, taking entries and having people sign up, and a large portion of the people that are interested in this are people, one, have zero experience or background in the Western way of life, or, like I said, have been around bucking bulls before, so that was what I expected, especially from my research and just my lifelong, history in the sport and growing up in the city. But what has been surprising is that a lot of them have been in that 35 to 45-year-old age bracket. The age bracket came in a little bit higher with the folks that actually, spent the money to actually go through the process and experience it. So that was a little bit surprising. No, I won't say surprising, but it was higher than what my original, assessment was. And then there's also, a few ladies that want to try this and kind of, go through the process of experiencing it as well. And so, big mix there. But I think at the end of the day, it's mainly folks that have always wanted to try it or done it or do it, and have seen the opportunity but never known where to find it, because it's not that easy. And what we're trying to do is provide a conduit, from, let's say suburb, inner city neighborhoods to, our demographic, and giving them that chance.
A couple of quick statements and then a question. First, Pete said an accountant needs his shoulders to do his work. Doubtful. Anyway, second statement is those ladies who want to ride a bull, I'm for it.
Yeah. Oh, I know it. Absolutely.
Ladies. Yeah. But here's my question for you, Cody. If if the bull that you ride during the normal course of your work as a pro bull rider is a 10, what number bull are you putting me on as a novice?
Absolutely. Great question. That right there is, one of the first questions that comes to mind. And so to answer your question, they'd all be ones. They would be
Okay,
in
fair
that,
enough.
that one, let's say maybe two range, and so, they're probably going to be what we would call like an old campaigner, or maybe, just bulls that aren't quite nearly the athletes that you would see on TV, obviously. And so that's, it provides a great atmosphere. They'll
My
be,
God.
yeah, they'll usually be maybe a little calmer, that sort of thing. But like I said, the one thing that to take in mind though is that these are live animals, so the bull could, basically, go out there and jump kick is what they call it, and just kind of go in a straight line, and then out of nowhere, might have a better day, and so that, is probably fairly rare, to be honest, but that could happen. But to answer your question, there'll be ones and twos.
Okay.
Can someone off the street, like I remember in Stir Crazy, I'm going to use a Stir Crazy reference. That's how much I know about bull riding. But, there was like a natural ability that, what the heck, Gene Wilder's character had to ride a bull. And they're like, just turn it up. He was a mechanical bull and he was riding and riding. He just was born to do it. If I walk up and I'm like, I think I'm born to do this, I'm still going to get on a 1, or do you guys are like, yeah, dummy, here's a 3?
Yeah, no, in this situation, it will be the same. It'll actually be what's called a shoot draw. So you'll literally have a number, and say you're number 9, you will literally get on the 9th bull that comes through the buck and shoots. So that's how we're going to do it at Bull Party. So, so most of all, like I said, all of them will be 1s or 2s. But to answer your question too, like as far as some people are just born to do this, that is absolutely the case. I mean, and probably more so than a lot of sports. I mean, these guys are supreme athletes, and that's one of the things we're really looking to share is just simply how athletic you have to be to not only to do it, but let alone to excel at a high level and to ride these ranked bulls. Somebody like let's say a wrestler, a boxer, a gymnast, those are the types of athletes that tend to do extremely well riding bulls. It takes a very strong core and, quick muscle memory and that sort of thing. And so, yeah, I'm pumped about that, is finding those diamonds in the roughs or those higher level athletes to improve the sport in general.
Yeah, you can't be the kind of person who has to look at their limbs
Yeah.
or do something, right? So along those lines, I'm just going to say for the record, I think Pete can handle about a 5.5. When we get there, you can just throw them in there.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we could get you set up, Pete, and line you up for sure.
I am officially retired from ever doing this.
That's it. I have a feeling though that embarking on this kind of activity is going to put you in a fraternity with people. In other words, there are activities that you go on and you go out and you spend a day on the driving range. Okay, you're going to run into a few people. But the kind of person you're going to be holding the number and standing next to in line, I have a feeling that's going to be a special kind of friend when you leave the experience. Have you found that to be true?
Oh, absolutely. And that's why I can't wait for the opportunity when we really get things rolling and we're there that day and you have 50 different individuals going through the same experience for their first time. I mean, because it's just like you said, whether you're going on the driving range or say you're going skydiving or just some sort of life experience in general, it's almost like a bond that you create. And this is like that more than anything. One of the things that I love more about bull riding probably than anything else, and again, that's something I'm looking forward to sharing, is that there's a camaraderie within the sport, inside the athletes and the people that are competing against each other like no other, because it is extremely dangerous. And 2, you're going up against 1,800-pound, one of the best athletes on the planet. And so there's that fear factor and everything that pulls you all together, and you're helping each other out. You're pulling each other's bull rope. You're spotting them is what it's called. And so it's that's a great question. I love that you asked that, because that is absolutely one of my number one favorite parts about the sport in general.
Let me ask some more of these what the hell am I doing questions because because is riding a mechanical bull, because a lot of people have done that. Is that in any way akin to what you're talking about with these number one rated bulls? And when I say number one, audience, let's not lose track. Number one is the smallest, 10 being crazy El Loco, that kind of thing.
Yeah. And honestly, it's really not. I guess, I mean, it is the same in the sense that you have your hand down and you're in that regard, I guess it is, but it's not, because the way a mechanical bull bucks is different than the way an actual bull bucks. One, you don't have the forward motion. When a bull's actually moving forward, that is actually one of the more difficult aspects of tracking that bull and having to stay out over the front end like that. And the other part is the bucking machine doesn't really kick. So, and again, one of the more difficult aspects of riding a bull. So even on these level 1s and 2s, like we've been talking about, it's still going to be much more challenging than mechanical bull because it doesn't provide those two aspects of riding an actual bull. Plus the fact that, fear and emotion starts to set in on a real one, and things get different.
Is there any way that you can replicate the Deborah Winger slow motion bull thing for like a halftime show?
Well, actually, we'll probably have a mechanical bull at the event. I mean, that is our plan, because I'm sure there's going to be, groups of friends, and there's going to be those one or two that actually enter the event, and maybe a group that, still wants to try to do them. So we will actually have a mechanical bull at the event for those folks, and just to create, a fun atmosphere. But yeah, so I think that's actually be pretty popular.
I rode a mechanical bull in Mexico for my 50th birthday while I was hammered on tequila and beer.
Perfect.
And,
How'd you do?
And one of the reasons why I'm retired is that my body is so beat up from combat. I do not want to fall on my shoulders, and my hips don't open up all the way anymore. So even sitting on a damn mechanical bull is terrible. And I had to get on because I was birthday boy obliged. And so I'm like, nope, I don't want to do it. Don't want to do it. Because all I can picture is just something hurting bad the next couple of days. And so the other guy kind of looked at me. He's like, I got you. He leaned that thing forward. 50 fat man graciously rolled off of it onto the pad, was like, thank God I'm off this thing. But if you would have caught me 15 years ago, I absolutely would have gone on that thing. And then I would have said, I don't need the 1 or the 2. Give me something that's a challenge. Maybe give me that 5.5 John was talking about. But what if someone actually has skills and they're like, I've done some of this before, haven't done it for a while, love to get on one. Can you at least, make it a goosey one? Or are you strictly locked into the, can I give you an extra $100 to get Sidewinder to come out and throw me around?
Yeah.
So
actual name of a bull, John, actual name. And that's in my head. I didn't have to pull that up.
Yeah, no, that's actually, that'd be a good name, really. Right. But to answer your question, that is absolutely something that we would, like, say they wanted a specific bull, we would provide that, because that is our number one goal, is to grow the sport and assist people in what they're trying to achieve. But as far as the day of the event, it is a competition, so even though they're doing it for their first time, we have it set up as a competition. And so what will happen is, during the day, those 50 individuals will get on that bull, that 1 or 2, if you will, and we have 5 coaches of some 5 of the best bull riders in the entire world actually will be coaching 10 people, and they're all in a team, that sort of thing. But after the 50 get on during the day, the top 10 of the 50 get to come back that night, and they'll actually ride in an intermission of the professional bull riding that will be in the evening. And those top 10 will actually get on a little bit better bull. So like, let's say a 3, 4, or a 5 to really test them. And then the winner of the event will be whoever has the best aggregate, whoever does the best on 2 bulls for the evening will win that championship buckle, and, be able to brag to the ladies or the men later that night and sport their buckle around.
Wow.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the economics of this thing, but now this is starting to make more sense, because you're talking about piggybacking an actual event where it's not just that you've got a traveling show that's looking for 50 riders to show up, but this is part of an opportunity to be a part of the real show.
Yeah, absolutely. And because that's when during the day when they get on, the energy level will be up just because you're getting on a bull. But one of the unique aspects about our sport is when you're at the highest level and those bulls start coming through the chute You can hear their horns clanking on the panels, and the crowd is cheering and the music's pumping. The energy level in the room is an experience like no other. Hair off the back of your chest type of feeling. And so those 10 athletes that get to that spot, they'll get to experience that right in the middle of that atmosphere, and it will be a once in a lifetime experience. Whether they do it ever again or not. And also kind of fill you in, and that's exactly what we're doing. We're encompassing an entire atmosphere. So while they're getting on during the day and throughout the entire day, we'll have a music festival going as well. So we have basically 6 bands, hour and a half each. But while they're riding during the day, there'll be a music festival going on in the same area, just providing, that atmosphere. And so the more I've done this, I've been to it a couple times and have had a great time there. But the more that this has evolved, I've basically realized all I'm doing is, recreating like Warped Tour. If you're familiar with a Warped Tour event, that's really what this is you've got bull riding going on at the same time as, country and rock music, and with Warped Tour, with the skateboarding and kind of that punk and rock music, is very similar to what we're working towards.
Perfect.
Yeah, so it's going to be a fun, unique atmosphere, and July 11th was right around the corner, and we were pretty pumped about it, but things happen, and so we're just going to stay positive, regroup, and keep moving.
I can't imagine a person will only do this once.
Yeah, and that's so it is. It's an addicting. It's very, very addicting. Like, I don't know if you ever skydived or anything, but my dad, for example, like I said, I grew up in a bull riding family. My father rode bulls consistently for 34 years. He basically got on his last bull at 54 years old, because the getting on a bull is so addicting, but just the competition level and the thrill that comes from it. I mean, so he's an anomaly as far as, going for that long. Obviously this is a kind of a young man's sport. But it's a great example of, how it can be a very addicting, experience.
Do you recall Ty Murray's reality show where he had guys like Leif Garrett and people like that? God, I can't remember everybody else. Oh, A. Martinez, I think, was on this show. And so, John, and for the audience, he got all these folks who were, people that had been really famous at one point. And he said, we're going to do bull riding, and they're going to, work their way up. And at one point, Leif Garrett early on recognizes his entire body is killing him. And he's like, I am a fool. I'm walking out of here. I don't want to win this thing. But the concept was there, though. Was that sort of an inspiration for what you guys did? I mean, because this idea had to come from somewhere, and that seems like a good jumping point.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, I mean, so honestly, I had the concept before the show. And then when that show came out, and I know it wasn't massively popular, but I thought it was fairly successful and ran well.
Yeah.
It just reconfirmed what I was, envisioning or whatnot. And you're right. I mean, so that was a great example of these guys getting on a bull that weren't around it. And that's very similar demographic to what we'll experience here. The other thing to take away from it too, that I don't think those individuals realized is, so like, when you jump out of a plane, obviously, that's very dangerous, because if things go wrong, they're going wrong, but for the most part, people jump out of a plane 1,000 times and will never actually get hurt.
Right.
The thing here with bull riding and where the fear factor comes in is, 50 ladies and guys get on a bull, one of them, somebody's going to probably get hurt, unfortunately. I mean, that's just the sport, it's very rough. It's very dangerous. So whether it's a broken collarbone or a broken leg, but just like that show, I can't remember, one of the celebrities broke their collarbone, and I don't think they realized that when they joined that show, that there's real danger here.
Yeah. I just looked it up. Some of the names: Stephen Baldwin.
Yeah.
He was married. Ty Murray was married to Jewel at the time, so Jewel was there. But Vanilla Ice, Francisco Quinn, Anthony Quinn's kid, Ragib the Rocket Ishmael. I mean, like, this is
right.
A group of.
He won. I think he won it.
I think he did too. And to your point, he's a fantastic athlete, a kick returner. If there is a football version of riding a bull, it's a kick returner, because that person's got everybody coming at them at 1,000,000 miles an hour. It's such a, you talk about high stakes. That's as high stakes as you get on the football field.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And they're the right build too, you know. So most of these guys, like I said, are a little bit leaner, you know, usually, you know, somebody larger, like there's really never like over 200 pounds is a very rare situation to have a successful bull rider. So yeah, those kick returners are, as football goes, is definitely the right one, the right position.
You know, you got to really. It sounds like the type of individual who would love to do this. You got to ask two questions. Number one is hands up for who wants to be a rock star.
Yeah.
And then those hands go up, and then you go, all right, now which one of you wants to be a rock star is willing to get shot out of a cannon?
Yeah.
And those with their hands still up, that's one of your 50 riders right there.
It is. It is. It's exactly right. And that's how it's been too. You know, when you go into like a social setting, you know, whether it's a festival or even just a downtown district or a bar, you know, they start to, the cream rises to the top real quick as far as, you know, the one that might be a tad crazier than the others, you know, and will actually go through with it. And so it's been fun. It's been so much fun just to even start this process. And like I said, it'll be an interesting group of people, you know, at each and every one of these bull party events for sure. And I'm sure we'll have the Leaf Garretts too, you know, when they get there and they're like, oh my God, this is a lot more than I bargained for, you know, and I expect that, you know, and but yeah, it'll be fun.
What is something like this to cost to have that show up at my event? Let's say that Leif Garrett's out at his ranch out in Patterson, out in Southern California, and he's like, my daughter loves riding horses. We're going to have these guys come out. Like, is that possible to hire you guys for a private party?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I mean, we've, you know, a group of friends and different people that I'm involved with, you know, are, you know, put on these types of events all the time. You know, the bull party piece of it, the you know, the beginner piece of it is what is new. But yeah, that would be exactly what we're looking for. You know, we are in the process, you know, talking to a few main key national sponsors and having a tour like that and trying to get to these areas, you know, on the West Coast and on the East Coast, you know, that it's not as readily available as it is, you know, right here where I'm, you know, I'm obviously in like a Mecca, you know, in Wyoming and Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona, Texas, you know, in a larger areas of the country. But yeah, that's absolutely on our list.
Yeah, Pete, when we grow our company, this is going to be our team building event.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about. I know I had that conversation with some folks, you know, because it is about as big a team building event as possible,
Oh
right?
yeah, it's also going to separate the. We're gonna find out what's what and who's who.
Yeah, exactly. And even if you just had the one or two, you know, and then you all come as a group, you know, and support that, you know, support your friend or your coworker. I mean, that's absolutely something that I hope for and expect, honestly, in a lot of ways, because it'll be a team building experience like no other.
What is one idea? I know what the uniform is from looking at you guys, but what is the actual best set of clothes someone could wear if they were going to do this? Like, IBM hires you guys out, and you're like, everybody put on, is it sweatpants? I mean, it's clearly not going to be shorts, but
Yeah, no,
it's also not going to be clam diggers.
yep. So actually, funny enough, what's I know what I've always kind of liked about, you know, Western attire or, you know, cowboy attire, if you will, is there's a reason for every aspect of the way a cowboy dresses. You know, so whether it's the long shirt, the collared shirt, the cowboy hat, it all has a purpose. You know, the boots even have a purpose. And
Yeah,
so,
chicks dig it.
That's
what's
right.
that?
Chicks dig it.
Yeah, chicks dig it. That
Oh,
doesn't.
is there another purpose?
Yep, that doesn't hurt either. I promise you. But yeah, no. So like I said, if you know, obviously you have to have a long sleeve shirt. Jeans are definitely required. And then if you don't have cowboy boots or some sort of boot with the heel, you have to have a boot with a heel because the spurs need to be able to, you know, go on your heel of your boot. And so if you don't have those, we're going to provide boots, just like, you know, bowling shoes or whatnot, if you will, to allow those folks to have the spurs, because the spurs are very important for safety and other reasons.
Wait, so explain that. Why are spurs so important? Because I'm a California kid that's ridden
Yeah,
horses and cows a few times, but
I love answering these questions and things. So keep firing them away. But so your spurs, I mean, that's what keeps your feet down.
mhm.
And so one of the, you know, misconceptions that people that aren't around the sport, you know, think of the spur as being, you know, harmful to the animal. And so just so you know, the spur, it does have a rowel, but there's about a 1/4 inch movement in the rowel. So it does move. And the rowel itself has to be dulled down to a certain point. So they are rounded on the edges and and that is dulled down. However, what it allows you to do is it keeps your feet down. You know, I mean, without them, it would be almost impossible, especially some of these better bulls, because your heels and everything, your feet would just kind of float and whatnot. And so it's a big aspect of keeping your lower body down, and then allows you to, you know, position your upper body to track that bull in an appropriate way.
I really thought the answer to that question was going to be because the guy with the Spurs said he was showing up in them. The guy with the Spurs, whatever he wants goes.
Yeah, yep, exactly. I know it. No, they do look cool. They're hard to run in, though. I tell you that. You know, and you get a mean bull chasing you, the last thing you want to do is, you know, trip up on your spurs. That's something to be aware of if you're having to run from one. But yeah, no, there's a rhyme or reason for every little aspect of the entire, you know, cowboy attire.
You know, for our audience, I just want to say, if you have this kind of experience and you can look around in a room and go, hey, who in here's been chased by a bull? And somebody puts their hand up, you know you can count on that guy.
Yeah, exactly. I know it. It's almost like running into a guy with cauliflower ear, right?
Right.
Who've got cauliflower ear, you know, that they've, you know, experienced life in a certain way. That's for sure.
Yeah, they're definitely good at hugs.
Yeah, good huggers.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the ladies.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated with a woman who's got the gumption to get on a bull. Talk about the personality profile of the ladies who participate in this activity.
Yeah, absolutely. I grew up with a lady, probably the best bull rider female, you know, that I've ever met, for sure. But she just, you know, she just had something about her that was, one, it was like a chip on the shoulder. You know, she obviously, you know, the obvious is she wanted to prove that she could do anything that, I don't want to say that a man can do, but do anything that anybody else could do, right? And she proved it, that she could do a lot of things and excel at it. And then the ladies that have been interested in this bull party piece, you know, has been very similar in that sense. You know, they're, you know, kind of salty, if you will, you know, and just have that swagger about them. Obviously very similar to a UFC fighter, you know, and some of the ladies that you see in the UFC, you know, I love, you know, Ronda Rousey and Holly Holmes and whatnot, you know, very similar to those ladies. And then, you know, I'll tell you a funny story, you know, like one of the ones that wanted to sign up, I think she was really interested, and then was like, you know, asked me to take my buckle off because she wanted to see it. And so I gave it to her, and she put it up on her waist as if she was wearing it, and done deal. She wanted a belt buckle so bad that didn't matter what she had to do. She was going to get on the back of a bucking bull. So that was a kind of a funny story to go along with that.
I like it.
Yeah, a little bit of bling doesn't hurt.
Yeah. Absolutely. When you guys are sorting through all of the different things, obviously, like when you go skydive, you've got packages you can get. You can have the video taken of you. You know, you can buy different experiences, you know, depending on like what kind of like the style. Like, are you going to do a tandem jump, static line, free, you know, that kind of thing? Will you have certain things like that? Where, I mean, obviously you're going to sell T-shirts. Maybe you're going to sell belt buckles. Hell, I would. Maybe you're going to sell boots in general. But like, what are some of those fun things you're going to add to it so that I can, you know, it's one thing to be on the bull, but then you see yourself on the bull later on, and it's, you know, it's a lot more fun.
Oh, absolutely. And so, yeah, obviously we'll have the merchandise and the basic, you know, things along those lines for sure. But yeah, just like skydiving, you know, this is something that you want to experience and hang on to for the rest of your life and show your friends, right? I mean, you get on the back of a bull, you want to be able to brag about it later on. And so we will have a professional photographer and a professional videographer there, you know, to provide, you know, those pictures and the video afterwards, you know, for sale and make it easily accessible as well. You know, we're not trying to, you know, really profit off of that piece of it, you know, just looking forward to, you know, providing that, you know, long lasting experience for these folks. And then, you know, just like a Tough Mudder or Spartan Race, if you're familiar with those, you know, to have the, you know, the merchandise that's not for sale, you know, to be able to wear that proudly, that, you know, you got the t-shirt or you got the headband or whatever the case may be, that you actually did it. And, you know, I've done a couple of those myself, and it's funny, I find myself, you know, wearing them with pride, you know, because nobody else has that shirt except for the ones that actually, you know, went through the same process.
Yeah, that's really the good stuff, is the merchandise that's not for sale. So
yeah,
the part that's for sale is the part that you put up in your office so that everybody who walks in goes, you know, sees it like the roller coaster picture,
Yeah.
except it's not a roller coaster. You rode a bull.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
And that's a whole different category.
Yeah, and our demographic, for better or for worse, we are very much a show me type of group of people. Heck, we wear buckles on our waist to tell you how big of a champion we are, right? So, we wear jackets that have awards and that we've done this, and so we will absolutely provide that same aspect to these participants, and so they can take that with them forever.
Hey, this is P.A. Turner from Lions Rock Productions. We create podcasts around here, and if you, your brand, or your company want to figure out how to do a podcast, just talk to me. I'll give you the advice on the right gear, the best plan, and show you how to take a podcast that makes sense for you, that's sustainable, that's scalable, and fun. Hit me up at pete@breakitdownshow.com. Let me help. I want to hear about it.
Participants, and so they can, take that with them forever.
Is there I imagine you have a curriculum. You're going to put me on the back of a bull. You're going to teach me the basics. But how long is that class?
Yeah.
Like the instruction I have to endure before you go, all right, you're ready.
Yep.
Line up.
So we will have, videos and some of our coaches, like I said, some of our coaches are 5 of the best bull riders in the world. And we'll have some videos and some training ahead of time. But the day of the event, we'll kind of have a round robin experience, where where they'll go to different training stations, if you will. And honestly, it won't be that long. I mean, it'll probably be an hour and a half, and go through the basics of, how to prepare yourself in the bucking chute is the most dangerous part of the whole process. Actually, a lot of people envision, obviously, being out in the arena as being dangerous, but when you're actually in the bucking chute and you're surrounded by all that metal, that's a very dangerous place to be. So we want to make sure that they're 100% confident in their surroundings and with the people helping them on and that sort of thing. So a lot of it will be focused on the chute procedure and getting out of the bucking chute on the bull. At the end of the day, there's really not a lot to tell somebody or show somebody. They kind of need to experience and then grow from there.
Hey, my buddy Steve is asking a question about the relationship between the bull and the rider. Is it anonymous, or is it more like baseball where the hitters and pitchers are studying one another, trying to figure out? Well, obviously the bull isn't looking at the rider. He's like, I'm just going to kill you. But
I don't know what's on that bull's mind.
No, you're absolutely. That's another fantastic, because these bulls are so badass. They're literally, the greatest athletes on the planet. LeBron James, eat your heart out type of thing, because these bulls are 1,800 pounds and will jump, 10 feet in the air and then turn back on a dime. And so anyway, to answer the question is basically, a lot of these same bulls will go to the same events throughout the year. And they're back there in the back pins right next to the riders. And so it's a really cool atmosphere, because they're basically a part of the conversation. Now, they might not be verbally speaking to you, but it's almost as if they're a part of your clique or your group of friends. And the love and admiration that grows for these animal athletes is massive. And it's just such a cool experience. Like I said, they're all, they're all different colors, obviously, and they're all built differently, and they're just supreme athletes, and their personalities come through. But you study them, and a lot of the times they'll have the same pattern, the same bucking pattern. But again, they're live animals. And so a lot of times guys will try to what we call cheat one, right? Where a bull might turn back to the left on a regular basis, and they might kind of lean over there a little bit, thinking that they're going to get ahead of them. And that bull is smart enough, to feel your weight shift, and they'll go to the right, and then leave that guy hanging and buck the guy off. And
that's John's move.
yeah, throw a little curveball at you. But it's a great sign of a fantastic animal athlete, and one of the rare ones when they're cognitively thinking through the process and can feel you, and makes them that much more difficult to ride when you can't cheat one like that.
So this brings up a great point, because oftentimes we look at the animal and we think, oh, poor animal. And I literally had this conversation today on my walk. It was, I like to go to some horse racing because it's interesting to me, and I think, oh, those poor horses, and then I think, wait, hold on, these guys are bred to do this. Like they love to be on the track and run around, and heck, I'd want to go. I mean, you're not going to find a bunch of depressed people at the Santa Monica Track Club. Like these folks are running for a living. Why wouldn't the same be true for horses? And then I guess that's the same thing as, bulls that are bred to do this. Why wouldn't they just love doing this all the time?
Yeah, no, it's absolutely right. And that's one of our biggest goals as a company is, like I said before, there's some misconceptions and I'm here to, kind of educate and fill folks in on exactly how these animals are treated, first of all. And to your point, you're absolutely right. These bulls, they're bucking bulls. These are not bulls that you would find like out on a pasture breeding for beef. So these bulls are quite a bit more athletic. They enjoy the aspect of being an athlete and bailing in the air and bucking and that sort of thing. And then at the end of the day, they're treated like royalty, to be honestly. You go in their trailers or their pens at home. I mean, it's literally like a LeBron James, Patrick Mahomes type situation, if they're the equivalent in the bull riding world as they are, in our sports world here. And so you're right. I mean, I have a lot of folks who will ask me, about that, just like you said, like, how do you know this is what they like to do? And I was like, well, when you're around an animal enough, and it's almost like you can communicate and you learn their personalities and you can see the joy that they have, honestly, when they are done, or the feeling that they come back behind the buck and shoots. It's as if they're just as pumped up and 10 feet tall as the bull rider are. And a lot of them, I'll give you a quick story real fast that is a really great example of this. There was a bull, his name was Cowabunga, actually, back when, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was really big. And this bull knew every time that he bucked a guy off. He knew when he got rode and he knew when he didn't. And every time he bucked a guy off, this bull would take a victory lap all the way around the arena as if he was rubbing it in the person's face. And that was always just so amazing to me and so cool, that even if the guy rode him for 7 seconds or 8 seconds, he knew if he won or not. And he would take that victory lap every single time.
Wow.
And it was a great example of, they're smarter than you think.
And then these ones and twos that you guys are going to put people on, are these bulls bred for mediocrity then? Like,
yeah, so they are. They're there for, they're bulls that maybe are beef bulls, if you will, or, just aren't nearly as athletic, or intense. Some of these bulls are so intense and their bloodlines are so high, that they're just different. And these bulls that these guys will be getting on are more similar to what you might drive by in an open field or what have you.
Steve asked a good question too. Do the bulls remember you? Like if you've ridden them before, do they have a pretty good memory?
That's a good question. That's a hard one to answer, though. I mean, I would love to tell you that they do, because there are some like famous matchups, right? Just like a batter and a pitcher, or whatnot, in other sports, or Manning versus Brady, whatever the case may be, where they know that they're in a big time competition. Where I would like to say that they do, but I don't know for sure. Probably not, when they're on your back and whatnot. But there's been some epic battles. One of the most famous ones, is actually, if you're familiar with Lane Frost from, the movie 8 Seconds.
Yeah.
Lane Frost and the world champion bucking bull Red Rock. Here recently, there was JB Mooney and world champion bucking bull Bushwhacker. Tough Hedeman and Bodacious. I mean, there's just some matchups like that are epic. And so I wish that I could say for sure that they do, but I don't. That would be a hard one to answer.
Rodeo guys have great names like Tough Hedeman. That's just such a great name. And then Lane Frost, I don't know how old he was when he died, but he dies, during a ride, and it's just incredible to see an elite athlete. And it never really occurred to me that the bull is also an elite athlete, that these two people or these two creatures are going at it as hard as they can. And you wouldn't want that bull to be anything less than that if you're Lane, if you're Tough Hedeman or anything else.
No, absolutely. You're right. You especially like using Lane and Red Rock as an example, is you had Lane, who was at that point in time, the best bull rider in the world, and Red Rock, who was also the 1987 world champion bucking bull. And so you're right. They're just battling it out, and the best of their craft at that point in time. And yeah, the Lane Frost story is obviously very important to our history. It changed a lot of things. It actually, one of the good things, I guess, if you want to say, if anything good came from it, is it created the invention of the vest, a protective vest that bull riders wear now, and have limited a lot of those injuries that have occurred, and unfortunately a big part of what took Lane's life. Yeah, just a historic individual and person in our side, in our industry.
I think though that speaks to the question that Steven asked, because that's the relationship. You do get to know these animals. You do speak with a reverence, when you refer to them as bull athletes. We can hear that, and we can hear that there is definitely a relationship. And I think that's what you're going to find with your clientele, and why somebody who gets on the back of a bull is not going to be able to do it just once.
Yeah. And that's our goal, so say we got these 50 guys and gals, and even if it's just 2 or 3 of them that want to do it again, my hope is that all of a sudden that's 2 or 3 more people with inside our sport. And then that level of athlete will increase. There's so many, athletes in general in this world, obviously, that if they had the opportunity to do our sport and to make a living at it. I mean, just to give you an example, the world champion makes around $1.8 million a year. It's very common nowadays, as the sport has grown, for individuals to make 6 figures a year. I mean, and when you look at the lifestyle, I mean, yes, it's dangerous, and there's some hardship in there as well. But man, it's a great opportunity for a 20-year-old, 21-year-old to jump out and make well into the 6 figures doing something that they love, and being an athlete. Everybody's built differently. Some people are made to do art and are made to be musicians and that sort of thing. Well, some people are also made to really push the limits and be athletes, be extreme, and bull riders are a unique individual that I think there's a lot more out there. We just need to uncover those rocks a little bit.
Yeah, sign up, Chuck from accounting.
Yeah, Chuck from accounting. Yeah, come on down. Yeah, come and check us out. We'll get you set up. The experience of a lifetime.
We know what you're wired for.
That's funny.
And what about Verlinda from receiving? Talk to her specifically, the lady that's like, I would never, ever do this. When you're looking at Verlinda from receiving, and you're like, you got to do it. What's your elevator pitch to her? Because there's no way she's going to do it, but then you get her to do it.
Yeah, and so it's a fine line to walk, and that's why I have to be very careful with the words that I say, to be honest with you, because, maybe if it's like, say, a close buddy, I'm totally okay, pushing buttons on a close friend, right? But, at the end of the day, this is also something that, you can't push somebody to do it. They have to want to do it, and I would never put pressure on somebody, because it's just dangerous. And I'd hate to, really try to sell somebody, and then all of a sudden they jump out there and they're hesitant, because if they're going to be hesitant, they're more likely to get hurt. So poor Verlinda in receiving might want to just, kind of just show up and drink beer, listen to the music, and watch Chuck from accounting might be a better option for her.
Yeah, a little something for everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
What if my kid is into it? Let's talk about that. How young is too young? What do you see there?
So as far as the event goes, as far as the bull party event goes, you have to at least be 15 years old. Okay. And so obviously if you're under 18, obviously your parents have to be there. They have to sign a release and everything else. But you can be 15 and older to do the bull party. So that's where we're at there, because we would love to capture those high school athletes and allow them the opportunity to hit the ground running when they, graduate high school or college and be professionals. However, if somebody was just interested, I'll give you an example. Myself, for example, I started riding sheep when I was 4 years old, started riding calves when I was 6, got on my first bull when I was 9. And so, people that are, grown up in this sport, that's kind of what their experience is and the age that they start. But as far as bull party goes, it'll be 15.
Are there state by state laws that like limit your ability to do your work in certain ways at all? Or is it I mean, obviously Wyoming, they're like, here you go. Here's a goat. Here's a sheep. Here's a guinea pig. You can ride this motherfucker. Let's go.
Yep.
But, other states, do they have limitations?
So there hasn't been any state laws, but there are certain county laws. So, and that's a part of why we're doing this. Is that I think some of those laws might have been put in place without taking into consideration the actual reality of the animal treatment and that sort of thing. And so, but I'm not gonna, that's their decision and their choice. But there have been some counties that have put certain provisions on what can and cannot happen inside the county. There's only, I don't know the exact number, but it is obviously very few. There's also an area in Canada that has done it as well. But when it's some of these bigger events, we will come across protesters and things of that nature to kind of address that piece of it. And again, that's exactly, I'd love to have conversations with those folks because one, it's having a civil conversation goes a lot farther than somebody, sometimes you're not going to change anybody's mind on anything, right, on any subject. But when you can have a good conversation and kind of explain the reasons or rationales for certain things, I'll give you an example. A lot of times will come up is people will ask me or question, why are the bull's horns tipped? And that's actually implemented for the bull's safety and obviously the human safety as well. But for these bulls to compete at these events, their horns have to be at what's a quarter size tip on their end there. Because when you have these bulls, there's a tremendous amount of testosterone. Sometimes they'll fight each other, and if the bull is not tipped, the other bulls are in an opportunity of being harmed. And so we enforce the fact that they need to have a quarter size tip on their horn for the other bull safety and for the rider safety as well. So that's just an example of something that there's a reason and a rationale behind it that not everybody knows about.
I just want to say for the record that was Pete who asked the question about state laws for riding sheep.
That's right.
Let's say I have a team building event coming up, and I'll be damned if Chuck from accounting rides a bull longer than me.
That's right.
And I got about a month to prep. What should I be doing? How do I train to make myself to give myself the best chances of riding this bull?
Yeah, great question. And we have a lot of that. Actually, I provide a workout routine to these potential participants just for that. And so, but at the end of the day, like I said, like take gymnasts, boxers, wrestlers. Yoga actually is a big aspect. Yoga, because you're looking at your core strength, your overall flexibility. So yoga is a fantastic thing, but lean muscle mass is what you're looking for. So high intensity, high rep, low rate workouts tend to be the best. And so if somebody was getting into this, and let's say, Chuck from accounting, might be carrying an extra 10 to 15 pounds on him, it would be beneficial for him to maybe lose that 10 to 15 just because you want to be quick on your feet and have the ability to move your body as quickly as possible. And so, yeah, lean and mean is what you're looking for.
Lean and mean. Hey, what other misconceptions or myths would you want to let us know about? I mean, we didn't know about spurs. We didn't know about horn tipping. What else is out there? I mean, you guys have been doing this sport for a long, long, long time. You've figured a lot of the questions out. So help us out.
Yeah, absolutely. So the number one, if I could debunk any myth out there, the number one myth that has come to me my whole life. Because, like I said, a lot of these guys are raised in the country or whatnot. I actually grew up in the city, and my dad happened to be a bull rider from the city. And so I get these questions a lot, especially growing up. And the one is how do you make the bull buck? What makes the bull actually buck? And a lot of times people will think that we put a nail in their testicle or something along those lines. And so that's
you open the gate.
What's that?
You open the gate.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so there is what is called a flank strap, and there's no nail in it whatsoever. But it is a cotton braided rope, and it goes around their waist almost like a belt, right? It kind of sits in front of their hip bones, and it's on there, tight enough to where it's going to stay on there, but loose enough to where they think they can kick it off. So a bull will buck no matter what. When you open the gate, just like you said, they will absolutely buck. But what that flank does is it allows them to kick. It allows them to extend their feet and to be more difficult, thinking that they're going to kick that flank strap off of their waist. And so, I mean, I've got some great pictures, especially on our site, where you can actually see where that rope lies, and it's actually nowhere near, their private parts or anything like that. And so that's absolutely the number one myth I'd like to debunk is that, we harm them in some way to make them buck like that, or that we, are harming their private parts in any way, because that, it comes up a lot, and it's just simply not true.
What are you feeding these athletes?
Oh man, yeah. So it's gotten more and more, and actually, very similar. Obviously, you got your common hay and things like that, but there's some of these, nutrition programs that these bulls are on now, are really high performance, break down lean muscle mass, almost like any sort of muscle supplement that a bodybuilder would be taking. And just recently too, we've really been doing a lot with the CBD feed. Providing the CBD to these athletes has been fantastic. It's helped with their overall recovery and ability to, just have loose joints, and it just seems to really be helping. So that would be the latest in nutritional supplements that has been a huge success. It would be the CBD feed, CBD pellets.
I was not ready for you to say that you guys are getting these cows high as fuck. I wasn't ready for that to happen.
Yep. No, I know it. There's a lot out there you just wouldn't think of, but no, it has. It's been, and even in horses, performance horses, because CBD's got such a high aspect of benefits and everything else, and so why wouldn't it be the same for these animal athletes as well, and especially bulls, because they're coming down, for example, like they're coming down on their front feet and everything else, and so to be able to have their joints and everything else at top level and feeling good is important. And so that's probably the latest in the whole nutrition program.
Every now and then, back when I watched George Michael's Sport Machine, which is where all of my bull riding knowledge comes from.
Oh yeah, I love it.
Yeah, it was great. The guy would say, "Open the chute," and the bull would be like, "It just stands still," and then the guy just kind of stands, and it's like everything's on pause. Why does that happen?
Well, I mean, and so that doesn't happen as often now, because the bulls have gotten obviously more and more evolved.
Yeah.
But like you said, sometimes, and it's funny, announcers or whatnot will make a joke that it's a union bull, right? And the clock went off, or that's a common joke with inside the sport. But no, it's just, who knows, right? They're just, they got their own personalities, and maybe that day they weren't ready to work, and you'll have that too, even with some of the best athletes in the world. These bulls will, maybe just have an off day where they don't feel quite right, or they're just not ready to perform that day. And maybe that was the case for that particular animal that day.
Hey, Brad brings up a good point. You can't talk about rodeos without talking about clowns. Talk about the role of the clown in the rodeo culture, and why we ought to pay attention to him, and why he's an unsung hero.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I'll go on two pieces of that, actually. So I'll start with the clown. So when we refer to the clown, a lot of times, they want us to be politically correct now, right? So we call them a barrel man. These guys, they decided they want to be barrel men now and not clowns all the time. But yeah, so they provide such a great aspect to the sport when it comes to entertainment. Sometimes these events will have a little bit of downtime, because you're dealing with live animals, and boy, those clowns and the different barrel men out there do such an amazing job providing entertainment during those times, and then they also help communicate with the announcer and educate the crowd. I mean, they play a huge role. The best barrel man in the world, I mean, it's not even close, is Flint Rasmussen. And he's got a massive contract with the professional bull riders, and he earns every penny of it. He deserves every penny of it, because if you go to a PBR event, a professional bull riders event, you go away there knowing Flint Rasmussen and him being one of the best aspects of that particular event. So they play a huge role. But real fast, I'm not sure if he was referring to the bullfighters as well, but I definitely want to make sure and mention the role that they play. So the bullfighters out there are what we call cowboy protection bullfighters. Sometimes these guys will land in precarious positions, or in front of the bull or underneath the bull, And the bullfighters are out there to protect the cowboys and to make sure that they get away as clean as possible. And their job is so difficult, and they themselves have to be superb athletes in their own right. And they just have to be fearless. I mean, these guys will literally drape themselves over a bull's head and put themselves in danger just so that bull rider can walk away unscathed. And they don't get paid enough in my regard. And so both the barrel man and the bullfighters play a huge role in our sports, and they're definitely needed.
Yeah, you think about how many times you might just fall just hard enough as you get off that you need 2 seconds, 10 seconds, 20 seconds to catch your breath or to shake off that bit of pain that you got. You know, even if you go the 8 seconds, you still got to get off the damn thing, you know? So I can't imagine how many times those guys, just by doing their job, protect that. Golly, I hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll give you, I mean, this is a bad case, obviously, but it happens where, a guy will get knocked out, where they hit the ground and they're out cold. And so, and they're unprotected. They can't, cover themselves. These bullfighters will literally drape their bodies over the bull rider and take every hit, every horn, every hoof that might come their way. And it's common, and they'll do it without hesitation. That's the thing about it, is that things are happening so quickly that the ability to not even think about it, to just put your life on the line in a moment's notice is like I said, it is so unprecedented, and they're very unique individuals themselves, and big time athletes. And some of them might not look like athletes. You ever played racquetball, and there's always that guy in the gym that might be 50 years old, but that son of a gun knows right where he's supposed to be at that exact moment. I mean, bullfighters are the same way sometimes. These guys will get out there and they know how a bull moves so well that they're always in the right position. And it's an art and a craft that is definitely, and it's growing in a big way right now.
We built this show really to honor people who are the best at their craft. And a lot of the joy of this show, as has been pointed out by Steve in the comments, is finding these fascinating individuals who are doing something that, we didn't even know was a thing that was a craft that could be so honed. And then to find the people who really deserve a pat on the back for doing a job, especially when it comes to a job that involves a sacrifice to look out for the safety of somebody else. It's a lot of fun to hear about what you guys are doing. It's awesome to talk with you about this, and we really appreciate you sharing the experience. I look forward to having events again.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I can't thank you guys enough for the opportunity, because that's, that's what it's all about. And what we're, just trying to, get in front of a different audience. Sometimes I think our demographic has kind of stayed, in our circle, if you will. And it's time, we need to have that conduit, and that's what we're trying to accomplish. And would love the opportunity to have you guys out to an event. And, like I said, it's unfortunate what the world's going through right now, and I hope everybody's staying safe and going through the right process of getting, the world back to where we once were just a short time ago. But, we will have these events. We'll be in the California area. We're going to work our way east. Our next event will probably be here in the Rocky Mountains, but who doesn't love coming to Denver? It's one of the most beautiful cities in the entire world. And so if there is that opportunity, if you have questions, our website is bull-party.com. Like I said, the event was set for July 11th, but it gives you a really good indication of the feel for the event, what we're all about, and has a great FAQ too. And what I love is that you guys asked a lot of the questions that are actually in the, in our FAQ or whatnot, so I sure do appreciate you guys, and just, I'm very grateful for the opportunity.
Bull-party.com, everybody. Bull-party.com.
Yeah, there you go.